What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over all the new archetypes from Tides of Fate, which is coming out next week. I'm going to show you guys some of the new cards and combos and some of what each domain is going to be looking to accomplish in the new set with all the new tribal synergies. So let's dive in and check out some of the new deck lists. First up, we've got Guild Bounce, which is the deck that I'm most looking forward to trying out. One of the key cards you're going to need is Desert Mercenary. This guy is a 3-mana 3/3 guild. Everything in this deck is guild. Roar reduced to 1, the cost of each guild creature in your hand with cost 2 or 3. This is not a new card, it's from Trial of the Gods, but it's going to now suddenly have crazy amounts of synergy with everything in your deck. All of your 2 and 3 cost, and you could even add in even more, guild creatures will get reduced down to 1. That's going to be nuts. It's especially going to be nuts because you can play all of your guild creatures multiple times, because you can do things like Daring Escape, return a friendly guild to your hand, reduce its mana cost by 2 until the end of the turn, which means if you've already reduced things, now they're going to literally be free. You can play them again. We've got Shore Leave, return 2 friendly guilds to hand, Mana Surge 4, shuffle this into your deck. So if you've already spent 4 on a different turn, and surge to this card, well, now suddenly you actually get to just put this back into your deck. You get even more bouncing. Pocket Pair is a really cool draw spell. There's a lot of new card draw spells in the new set. I really like them. 1 mana draw 1 is perfectly fine. It means you can play your best 28 cards instead of your best 30. And it has Mana Surge 5 repeat, which makes it a 1 mana draw 2, which is insane. I will take that every day. We've got the Atlant Compass in order to bounce things. Ability, return a friendly guild to hand and remove 1 durability. So you can bounce 2 guild per relic. And we've got 2 of these relics each. We got Toast of Peace to bring everything back to hand. And let's see what some of the payoffs are. Why would we want to be doing all this? Admiral Mayday might be the coolest card from the new set, in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to bouncing her. She's a 3-mana 1/1. Not very good, right? But Roar, deal 1 damage. Repeat this for each time you've played an Admiral Mayday. So if you can reduce Admiral Mayday with Desert Mercenary, suddenly she becomes a 1-mana creature. You can do some crazy things, like literally you could do turn 1, pip out a Compass, get this equipped. Turn 2, you could pip out a Desert Mercenary, reduce your Mayday to 1. Turn 3, you use your pip, you got 4 mana. You play Admiral Mayday for 1, you bounce it back to your hand with your Compass, you play Admiral Mayday for another 1. Also, you're now doing 3 damage total because you did 1 the first time, now 2 the second time. And then you bounce it back with Daring Escape, which also reduces her back down to 0. So you can play her again. Now she does 3 damage. We've still only spent 2 mana. We've done 6 damage. And here's the real payoff. Sartonian Spymaster, 6 mana, 6/6 frontliner. While this is in your hand, after a creature is returned to your hand, reduce this card's mana cost by 2 until the end of turn. You've bounced her twice. That means for the other 2 mana that you have for this turn, 3 with your pip going second. Of course, you need 3 pips to do this. Turn 3, you've played a 6 mana, 6/6 frontliner, and done 6 damage with Admiral Mayday, and played a 1/1. I mean, that's turn 3. That's crazy. Of course, that specific combo will be very difficult to pull off, but there's a ton of combos. There's Shore Leave, there's Daring Escape, there's the Compass, Toast of Peace. I mean, there's going to be a lot of crazy combos with Admiral Mayday. It just seems like so much fun. Frumentary Instigator is definitely going to help with drawing a ton of cards. You can get a bunch of guild on the board pretty easily. You have Blade Borrower with an Echo, reduce the strength of enemy creatures. You have the Lethargy Mage, can reduce strength. If you reduce these with the Desert Mercenary and then play them multiple times, you bounce them back to your hand, play them again, you've reduced strength multiple times. You have a bunch of little guild creatures on board. You can then draw cards. This deck seems absolutely insane. One of the cool looking art cards I really like, and thematically I like this one a lot. Digby the Emerald Peril, 6 mana, 3/2. Seems pretty bad, right? But Roar, if you don't control Captain Thibs, summon Captain Thibs. And Captain Thibs is where it's at. She is a 4 mana, 6/4. Mana doesn't matter, though, because you've already spent 6 to get the 3/2. And you get this for free. Blitz, after this, attacks and survives. Pull the weakest creature to your hand. So again, you could use this to like kill a 3/3 or something. And it pulls Admiral Mayday back to your hand. And you get to play her again and again and again and again. So yeah, this, I love the design of this card. I'm so stoked to play this one. This one sounds like so much fun. Some people who are very good at the game have said that this deck will probably have a very low win rate, but if you're one of the top players, this might be considered like the bitter endings of this set, where if you're really good and good at combos and stuff and you know what you're doing, high win rate for very, very few people. And if you're bad at the game, then it might have a less than 50% win rate overall. I'm still excited to try it regardless. That is Guild for you. Dragons of War is the next one up here. Here we've got just a ton of dragons. It's basically Control War. You know, got like a lot of the normal stuff here. We have some new things like the Scorchblade, which adds a Draconite shard to your hand. There's other things that add these Draconite shards. Draconite shards are 1 mana, delve a dragon and add it to your hand. And Mana Surge 8, summon it instead, which is pretty nuts. But for 1 mana, you can just keep delving and adding a bunch of either big or small or whatever you need dragons to your hand. And if you add like a really big one that you're like, I'm never going to play this, even if you just add it to your hand, well, you can use Reckless Dive to discard a dragon from your hand and deal its strength as damage to all creatures. So that's a pretty crazy board wipe right there. You have a couple, you know, big dragons in the deck to begin with. We got Alberaxis is one of the biggest, baddest new dragons in the set, in the entire game, really. He's an 8 mana 12/12 with Overkill. Roar, deal 4 damage. If you're holding a dragon, your god power becomes Breathe Fire. Breathe Fire is a 2 mana, deal 4. So it's basically like Slayer on crack. It's going to be very, very much a very strong finisher, dealing 4 straight from hand, and then also changing your god power to just do 4 every turn is pretty crazy. We've got Glyn, which is just a 5 mana 5/5, and then also happens to draw you 2 cards for free. Like, these are great stats for a dragon. 5 mana 5/5, sure, you lose 1 stat, but you draw 2 dragons, which is pretty insane. Some of the other card draw, I said there's card draw for like every domain in this set. We have Gather the Great Worms for 2 mana, delve a dragon from your deck with mana cost 5 or more, and draw it. And then if you have Mana Surged 5, you repeat. So that's a 2 mana draw 2, which is also phenomenal. We've got Gem Fused Strike, which is really cool. Deal 3 to an enemy creature. If this destroys the creature, delve a war spell from your deck and draw it. Mana Surge 6, repeat. You get to deal another 3, get to draw another spell. These are like really strong just value generators. You're getting these, you're basically playing this for free as you get to draw spells when you play it. And then if you get to Mana Surge, even if you don't destroy the creature on the first shot, you still get to deal 3. Let's say it's a 6/6, you deal 3, you don't delve. But then you repeat because you've surged it, you deal 3 again, and then you get to delve. You've killed a 6/6. You don't even spend a card because you can actually literally delve your other Gem Fused Strike, for instance, and then you have that for next turn. And so basically you've played 0 cards, killed their 6/6, got a free Gem Fused Strike. Whatever the case may be, it's a very strong card. Retaliation is just a straight up death spell almost. It's just a 5 mana destroy an enemy creature. And while this is in your hand after your god takes damage, set this card's mana cost to 3. At the end of your turn, reset this card's mana cost. So this destroys an enemy, and it normally costs 5, but sometimes costs 3, which destroy an enemy for 3 is pretty phenomenal. Can kill an 8 mana creature for 3. Awesome, sign me up. Volatile Flame Breather is just a frontliner that has Roar, gain health equal to the amount of dragons in your hand. Hopefully we can always have at least 2, and then it becomes better than a vanilla 4 mana 4/5. It's also got frontline. If you've got more than 2 dragons in your hand, that's just a bonus. Even if you only have 1 in hand when you play this, it's still a 4/4 with frontline for 4, which is, you know, it's just like, that's the floor basically. You don't ever want to play it with less, but that's fine. Draka Scout adds Draconite Shard to your hand at the end of your turn. So you're always going to get at least 1 Draconite Shard from this. It's a 3 mana 3/3. So you're barely losing stats again, but you're gaining cards back into your hand every time you're doing that. I really like this new relic. Dragon Fang has Leech, and after a dragon is summoned on your turn, gain +1 strength until the end of your turn. So basically, you probably can get this to be a 2/3 every single turn, and it has a Leech. So there's also probably turns where you can play 2 dragons if you've got some small stuff. You can also delve things that are very small with your Draconite Shards. So you can play like a Scorchblade plus something else that you've delved, or a Draka Scout plus a Scorchblade or whatever. Hopefully you can always play at least 1 dragon each turn. If not, that's, you know, it's not great as a 1/3, but it has Leech. It's got 3 durability. Seems pretty good. I really like the Leech for more budget type decks. This is more of a budget type control deck. I think Control War with like Demogorgons and Therials and all that nonsense will still be probably stronger than this version, but I think that this version's cooler because it has all the dragons. Next up, we've got Light. Light has, you can see all Light cards here because they have this crazy new relic, Blade of the Creator, which is a 5 mana or a 0 mana, which you're probably going to only want to really play it as a 0 mana most of the time. At the start of the game, if your deck contains only Light cards, put this in your mulligan and set its mana cost to 0. Roar, set your god's max health to 99. Now, there is a spell that can give your god protected, give your weapon +2 damage and leech, I think. But so far, the way I've seen most people discuss playing this is, who cares about this? Play it like it's a spell. Set your god's max health to 99. It is max health, like the cap of how much health you can have. It does not heal your god for 99, so it does not change your god's health. You're still at 30 health on turn 1. But you now have all these things that can help heal your god and get higher and higher. And then we just play Lysander's Spear because everything in the deck is a light card. So this just pops off with durability, gaining every single turn. And you can make all of your creatures buff and forget about Blade of the Creator. I think the spell that actually buffs your blade, because it has 5 durability, is probably pretty strong as well. I don't think you really need to run Lysander's Spear. But, I mean, this is going to be super strong in this deck, of course. But now we've got stuff like a 0 mana, heal all characters for 3, Mana Surge 6, repeat. Healing all characters, that includes your opponent. So you're not really worried about hitting your opponent for any damage. You're really just worried about healing your own god. You might say, well, 3 is not very much. Even 6 with the Mana Surge is not much. But there's a new thing called Spell Boost, or Heal Boost. Sorry, not Spell Boost. That already existed. Heal Boost actually buffs your healing. So we have like the Dawn Drone. We have Wakian Boundless, which is heal boost, and after this is overhealed, split the amount overhealed as strength randomly among all friendly creatures. This seems really strong with stuff like the Circle, which heals it for 3 for free, and then splits all that strength. Like if this is at full health, and then you play that, and then you also use your God Power, you can get a bunch of strength off of this fully statted 3 mana 3/4 with heal boost, by the way. So like that, the Circle would actually heal you for either 4 or 8. Your God Power would heal you for 3. So I mean, you're getting a ton of value from this Wakian Boundless. The Refractor Guardian is an insane, awesome board wipe here. We've got, after this is overhealed, deal this creature's strength as damage split randomly among all enemy creatures. This pairs really well with the Spear because you can turn this very easily into a 6/6 as soon as you drop it. Then use your God Power and deal 6 damage to your opponent's creatures. That's crazy for 1 mana. So you drop this for 4 on turn 5. You know, use your Spear with it if you have it. If not, even still, it's 4 damage to all your opponent's creatures. Like, that's crazy. This is a really strong board wipe. And in addition, Light also got another board wipe in Altruism, which is a 5 mana, heal a friendly Atlantean for 4 if it's overhealed, which it almost always will be unless it's like a 5 health creature and it's at 1. Like, this is pretty much always going to do the second part. Deal 4 damage to all enemy creatures. So this is another board wipe for light. So we've got a couple board wipes for light. We've got card draw, Grace of Sartonia, draw 2 cards. While this is in your hand after your god is healed, reduce this card's mana cost by 1. I don't think it's unreasonable in this deck for this to become a 0 cost draw 2 cards fairly easily. I mean, literally, if you start with this in your opening hand, I don't think that's wrong at all. For the most part, as long as you can heal a couple times, you know, the whole point of this deck is to heal your god, right? So I think you're probably going to get this down. Even if it's a 3 mana draw 2, that's not the end of the world. And a 0 mana draw 2 is phenomenal. So I like that card a lot. And then the real payoffs for getting your god so high is the Hiergon is 5 mana 6/5 at the end of each turn. If your god has 50 or more health, gain protected and ward. That's pretty crazy to gain both every single turn if you have 50 health or more. And then the real crazy payoff is the 7 mana 4/4 God Blitz Twin Strike Roar. If your god has 50 or more health, gain +10/+10. Mana Surge 8. If your god has 80 or more health, gain +10/+10. So this could be a 24/24 with God Blitz and Twin Strike. So the Prophet of Progress is not messing around. Maybe you could even play 2. Probably not. I think it's going to be really hard, even with all the spell or all the heal boost, to actually get all the way up to 80 plus. If you're at 80 plus, I'm assuming you're probably winning the game already. Like, especially with like Refractor Guardian seems really strong. It's able to wipe your opponent's board literally every single turn. You know, you make this a 6/6, use your god power on it, and then it's going to deal like 6 damage every single turn just from using your god power. You keep hitting it with the spear, now it's an 8/8. Like, Refractor Guardian is no joke. This card is definitely like S tier. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, that's the heal deck in a nutshell here. Is there any other good cards? Oh, Tidal Prayer. I got to point this one out because I really like this one. I think this is also a really strong card draw spell. Delve a spell in your deck and draw it. And if your mana surged 4, reduce its mana cost by 1. It's basically a 0 mana draw a card because you're spending 1, but then you're reducing 1 for the most part. Even if you're paying 1 to draw 1, that's phenomenal. You're playing your best 28 cards instead of your best 30 cards. And then reducing something for a future turn. You know, if you have an extra mana this turn, in a future turn now you've saved a mana, so it's just great value with Tidal Prayer. I really like that one a lot. And then I threw in a couple early game plays like Olympian Guard, Inquisitor Informant, some of the staples of light. Just trying to make sure we don't die in the early turns here while we then get set up to heal. All right, that's it for part 1 of these deck reviews. I'm going to go over the other 3 gods in another video coming in another day or 2. So make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned for more deck lists in Tides of Fate. And I'll see you guys soon.